Hey everybody, welcome back to class number 7. I am Stephen Nitz. Where we left off in class number 6 was with a homework assignment to find your own music, your own sound effects, and to add your insert shots, B-roll shots, work on your sequencing. So if you did your homework, you should be at a point now where you have a fine edit. You're missing color, you're missing graphics, and that's really it. You have the scene fleshed out, you have the pacing fleshed out, you have the music done, it has a style to it, a feeling to it, you've made it your own. So now the last couple of things that we're going to talk about is graphics, color, export settings, but I'm going to break that up into different classes. For today, we're going to focus on the graphics piece. Usually in the post-production process, you're working with other people. You'll have somebody that's a graphic designer or an animator that's working on their particular portion of the project, and you'll have somebody that's a colorist working on their particular portion of the project while you're doing the edit. And as an editor, it's your job to kind of aggregate those assets to your project so you can actually lay them in and see the finished thing. For this class, for our low budget or no budget edit, I went on Google. I found a Cafe Bustelo logo, I found a little text bubble, I downloaded them. They are available for you in the YouTube link below along with the other course material. So if you need to download the exact song or sound effects or graphics I'm using, they are there for you to do that. So go ahead and grab those now so you can follow along with me. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to revisit the window panel. So right here where it says window, let's click on that. And we get this drop down of all these different things. The one we're going to focus on today is the graphics template. So let's go ahead and select it. Pops up and it looks like this, and it'll be filled with all kinds of fun graphics that Premiere has already preloaded into the software. So you have stuff for lower thirds, for credits, for title sequences, credit sequences, all these different things that you can add. If you don't know what a lower third is, for example, that is usually when you're watching the news or a documentary and you see a name pop up, Stephen Nitz, Premiere Pro course instructor. That's a lower third, and they call it that because it pops up in the lower third of the screen, the lower third of the frame. Credits are pretty self-explanatory. They come up at the end of movies. Courtesy graphics are a little bit different. They're kind of like a credit, but they're usually not at the end. If you're watching a documentary and you got a photo or a video from an outside source, you'll see a little, user ID, their name, or however they kind of want to be represented there on the screen. So if I were to take a photo of something and I share it with you and you use that photo in one of your edits, I would have you put a little @Stephen Nitz, in the top corner just to give me a courtesy credit for providing that photo. Here's a good example right here of what a lower third looks like. Bold, lower third left. You would just click it, drag it, bring it down. Now a lower third doesn't make sense here for this particular moment. I'm not addressing the camera, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just giving you an example here of how these work, how these templates work. They're drag and drop. You see one you want to use, you can click on it, drag it into your timeline, and then if you want to change it, you'll double click it, and it'll pop up this secondary box here where you see insert name title, so I can click on that. And you'll see it kind of highlights in red, and now I can type, Stephen Nitz, editor, whatever we want to, make it. And we can change up even the font type, bold, not bold, whatever you need. You most likely have some version of it within the graphics templates. Now, if you want to get more custom, you want to find something online and download it and use that, that's fine too. I just wanted to show you where these graphic templates were, just because this is an introduction to Premiere Pro course, and it's really important to know where these different panels are and what they can do for you. So if you don't have your own graphics, if you didn't source your own things, you can use the graphics template window and you can find kind of whatever you need to work on your piece. For this one, I already went ahead and went on Google. I grabbed a Cafe Bustelo logo and a little text bubble that I want to use in here. Because I'm not going to use the graphics template window here, I'm going to go ahead and close the panel because I don't need it. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller just so I can see my timeline a little easier. And I haven't added the graphics to my project yet, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to Finder, I'm going to go to that parent folder that we created all the way back in the first lesson. I'm going to go to my graphics subfolder because this is the location I saved the things I downloaded. I'm going to grab them and I'm going to drop them in my graphics bin. One thing I want to note, you'll see here at the end, .png. PNG files have transparent backgrounds. So if you download a JPEG and you have the background as part of the logo, that's why. It's because it's a JPEG. If you need a transparent background, you want just the graphic itself and not like white or, you know, the checkered box background or whatever you find when you're Googling stuff. Make sure it's a proper PNG like the ones I've downloaded and provided here, and you'll have transparent backgrounds. So if you don't, look for that and see if that's a thing that you need to address. All right, let's minimize that. So I already know within this, I want my Cafe Bustelo logo to come at the very end. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to drag and drop it at the end. I'm going to zoom in. This is way too big. It's taking up the entire screen. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to Effects Control and I'm going to reduce its size. I think, yeah, 45. That looks about right. Let's take a look at what we've done. Okay, not bad. I think there's some things we can do to improve it. Obviously, I like ending on their branding. Most commercials you see or product spots you see are going to have some sort of end card that'll have, you know, a call to action, a website, a phone number, their logo, some way to get the viewer to interact with what they're seeing after viewing it. I don't necessarily like that it's just sitting on black, so I'm going to go back into my footage and I'm going to find one of those shots I got that's just kind of a static nothing shot. And the one I have in mind is where my mocha pot is just kind of sitting on the stove and nothing is happening in the shot. It's just there static by itself. So let's grab that. If we can find it, I'm going to guess it's somewhere in the middle. Too far. There it is. So see, nothing's really happening here. That's just the pot sitting. So I'm going to grab a few frames of that, mark my in point, mark my out point, and I'm going to grab just the video and I'm going to put that underneath this logo that I want. I'm going to make it long enough. Just coincidentally happens to be the exact length I need, which is nice. And then what I'm going to do underneath it to help create a little separation between that Cafe Bustelo logo and my shot is I'm going to look for the Gaussian blur effect, G-A-U-S-S-I-A-N. Gaussian blur. I'm going to drop that on the shot. I'm going to go to Effects Control and I'm going to adjust how blurry it is. I can bring it up a ton. Now it's extremely blurry. Or I can have it, you know, crystal clear. It's up to you. I prefer it being a little bit more blurry on an end card because the shot isn't the thing, right? The logo is. I just don't like it when it looks like this. I prefer a little something in there. Let's watch again. All right, one thing I'm noticing in this shot that I don't like is the clock on my oven is kind of rolling, has like a bit of a rolling shutter effect. For a situation like this where I have my end card, I'm simply going to hide it. I am going to make my end card a little bigger. And I'm going to raise it up a little higher. And there, I can't see it at all now. Problem solved. And now because it's off center, what I could do to kind of help justify where it's at, I'm going to add my safe margins. I hit this little wrench and I pulled up my safe margins. The reason I did that is because we don't know what display people are going to be watching this content on. Some people have a TV that gets squeezed or cropped. So when you use safe margins, anything within these boundaries, you can pretty much guarantee will make it on the screen uninterrupted. Anything that you put outside of these safe margins, there's no guarantee that that element is actually going to make it to the TV screen or the display as intended, just because there's so many different kinds of technology and software and distribution platforms. Things get manipulated as they're delivered. So you can't necessarily guarantee you're going to see what you want to see if it's that close to the edges. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my type tool. I'm just going to click and drag down here. We're going to type www.cafebastello.com. Now, I don't know if that's their actual website. I'm just putting it here for lessons' sake. I'm going to highlight my text. I'm going to go over here to my effects control panel, and I'm going to find a way to center it up down here. So I can center it this way, and I can center it this way. I can also go over here to where I have my vector motion controls, my X and my Y axis, and I can click and drag to kind of push it where I want it on screen. So I'm just going to kind of roughly eyeball it and drop it under there. All right, looks good to me. That's about center. So now I'm going to ensure it's the same length as the rest of these shots. And boom, just like that, we have our end card. I'm going to turn off my safe margins, and now I'm going to watch it back. And then as the music fades, let's also fade to black. So I'm going to click, drag, highlight all three of these. I'm going to click just on the end here. So I only have now the very tail end of these things all selected together. And I'm going to add a dissolve. So now it should fade to black. Just like that. I made my dissolve keyboard shortcut the number 6. The actual dissolve keyboard shortcut we'll put on the screen. The last thing I want to do, graphics-wise, right here when I'm on my phone, I kind of want to put a little text bubble. So I downloaded one of those two. It's in my graphics folder here. I'm going to drag and drop that over this shot. And I have this little blue text bubble. I put a sound effect in for it as well. All right, so I'm going to start my text bubble about where that sound effect is. And now where do I want it on the screen? That's a great question. Let's go ahead and move it. I'm going to make it a little bigger. I also want to flip it. I want the little tail to kind of face towards me. So I'm going to go to Effects. I'm going to type the word flip, and I'm going to do a horizontal flip on it. Ooh, look at that. And in the same manner that we used on our end card where we grabbed a text tool and typed the, cafebastello.com, we can do the same thing here. We can grab our text tool, we can go into this bubble, we can click and drag, and we can add some text. Let's say, coffee is almost done. All right. Now what I can do, while I have my text selected, is I can hit vector motion right here, and it's going to kind of turn into this blue bounding box. And then I can click anywhere within the box and kind of drag the text where I need it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it in there. Boom. Click anywhere to kind of get rid of that blue bounding box, and let's see what we got. Texting, sent, boom. All right, perfect. That's great. So that's it for this class. We learned about the graphics template and all of the cool kind of tools that Adobe Premiere Pro already has built into it, from lower thirds and credits and title sequences and transitions to how you can find your own stuff on Google, identifying a proper PNG, bringing that stuff into Premiere and kind of building what you need with it. So obviously we built this end card today, which looks great. And then we also made this little interactive text bubble. So go ahead now, that's your homework. Figure out an end card, figure out a way to use a text bubble. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you want to put some sort of opening graphic on it, that's fine as well. Just go ahead and experiment, play with the graphics tools, add some graphics. In our next class, we're going to start adding color. Looking forward to seeing you there.